Hi everyone, and I welcome you once again to this topic, which is revenue from contracts with customers. This particular topic, we are going to talk about the subtopic, which is modification of a contract. Okay. Before we get into technicalities, let's try to understand what do we want to achieve, what do we mean by the contract modification and the likely impact thereof. Okay. So let us say that there are two companies, company X that is a manufacturing company. It manufactures computers. Okay, and there's a company Y, which is a seller. All right. Now let us say that company Y has ordered for computers from company X to be supplied over next 10 months. All right. So there are 10 computers per month that need to be supplied from X to Y. Okay. Now there is one part. Let us say that the price per computer is agreed upon $200, which means that the total revenue to be recognized shall be $20,000. Of course, every month, subject to the delivery of goods, $2,000 shall be recognized as revenue. No problem with that. The moment you deliver the goods, performance obligation is met, you recognize revenue in the books. Okay. Now, since delivery of first set of 10 computers is independent of delivery of the second set and the subsequent sets, which means that each set of goods is distinct. Okay, so what is the meaning of distinct? We are not discussing it here. We have an entire section which explains the meaning of what is a distinct good, right? In a layman's term, I can safely say each computer works independently of the other computer. Okay, which means that each computer is distinct, although it's a single contract. That it 100 computers will be supplied over next 10 months, 10 per month, $200 price of each computer, total revenue $20,000 over 10 months. Every month there is a $2,000 revenue. That is safely recognized, rightly recognizes revenue in the books of company X. Okay. Now, company Y says after, let's say, 4 months of the inception of the contract, company Y approaches company X again. It says that I would like to expand and of course increase the value of my contract. I would need more computers to be sold by you. Okay. Now before we get into that, let's say this price per computer is as good as the fair value of the computer. Okay. What is the original contract saying? 100 computers, 200 per unit. $200 is approximately the same as the fair value of the computer share. Okay. Now company Y approaches company X again, and at this point in time already 40 computers are delivered. Okay. And now company Y says I need another 60 computers over and above the remaining 60 computers. Wouldn't X be happy about it? The answer is yes, quite obvious that X understands that this is something that you are getting more business on, so obviously glad with absolute comfort. Now let us say that there are two scenarios that we're going to talk about. Okay, the scenarios are after 4 months of time. Okay, after 4 months of time, fair value, the normal selling price that X might want to charge to similar kind of customers for each computer is $180. Okay, and now we are saying customer Y comes and bargains for these 60, right? He says that I'm already taking 100 from you. I know that the prices have gone down to 180 in the market. You might want to charge me 180, but give me some discount. Okay, so one thing that we are saying is the pricing of these additional 60 computers comes at $150 per unit. Okay, the pricing of these computers, the market would have been 180. The market price charged by company X to similar kind of customers would have been 180, but Y says give me some discount because I'm already a customer of yours. I'm already dealing with you. I already gave you a good size order, so I need some discount. So on negotiation, you have these $150 per unit for the additional shipment. Okay, the whole idea is that how should the remaining goods, that is 60 of original plus 60 additional, be priced? This is one question that needs to be addressed. Of course, there could be different ways to look at it. We may say the first 60 at original price of 200 and the next 60 at 150, right? Or you are probably talking about $60 into 200 plus 150 is the total revenue, and you take average pricing of 200 plus 150 by 2 for each of the units. Okay, so which is the right one? What should be the right pricing for the subsequent shipments, the 60 units remaining and 60 units additional? Okay, so something that you want to kind of really look at just to make it doable, right? So the standard says, first of all, that yes, we recognize that there was an original contract of 100 computers, and then there is a change, that is a modification made. A change is made in the scope of the contract, wherein you are adding more goods to the same customer, right? And it doesn't matter whether these are distinct or not. I'm going to talk about the other scenario also when the goods are not distinct. Okay, but as of now, we're just focusing upon this, that if there is a contract and there is a change, how should this change be accounted for? How should the modification be seen? How should you view that? from an accounting standpoint. Okay, we are saying that such modifications, we'll come back to these numbers again. We are saying that a modification shall be accounted for as a separate contract if, right? So what it means, you will consider the modification as an additional new separate contract, right, subject to some conditions, and then we'll obviously look at what are these conditions and how do they really matter here. Okay, so if I say a modification shall be accounted for as a separate contract if some conditions are specified. The conditions are what? The scope of the contract. The scope of the contract increases, right, with a modification. If the scope of the contract increases because additional goods or services are distinct, and there are two conditions now, right? Not just this, I mean, so one point is this: if the scope of the contract increases, it shall be accounted as a separate contract, because you are obviously ordering more goods or services. Not just this, we are saying that the price of the contract that increases reflects the standalone price of the additional goods or services. Okay, right? The price of the contract that increases reflects the standalone prices of the additional goods or services. Which means what? We are saying that my original contract is of 100 units into $200, right? That makes 20,000. 40 units delivered, so $8,000 revenue recognized. 60 units into 200 remaining, and additional 60 units at 150 further to be shipped. And we are also saying the fair value of additional shipment comes to $180 per unit. Okay, so what we are saying is a modification shall be accounted for as a separate contract if the scope of the contract increases because the additional goods or services are distinct. These are distinct for sure. The remaining 60 units have nothing to do with the performance. I mean, the additional 60 units have nothing to do with the performance of the previous 60 units. There is no connect between the two. But then the price of the contract, price of the additional 60 units does not reflect the standalone price, right? The price of the contract does not reflect the standalone price. My standalone price is what? 180. How much am I charging? 150 per unit. What do? We would say, no, this is not a separate contract, right? It has to be at least approximately equal to 180. Okay, subject to any adjustments. Like for example, paying additional commission, you might have landed up paying more transportation. So you simply reduce that because you are going to ship all these probably together. So if it's not 180, it could be 175, 180, 172, or maybe 178 or something like that, because you are seeing an incremental savings in this particular deal. Okay, so when you say that this contract has increased, the scope has widened, but the new or the modification or the addition to the contract does not reflect the standalone pricing, then these two contracts are not the same. Okay, so we are saying that, or rather they are the same, as in, sorry about that. We are saying that while this condition is met, this condition is not met, which means what? Now my pricing for the remaining goods shall be 60 into 350. That makes it, of course, just need to multiply it rightly, 30, 6, 3, 18. This makes 21,000, and there are in total 120 units. Okay, so when I say so, I'm looking at the right multiplication. 700 by 4 will be 130 means 70, makes it 175. Right now, what does it represent? It means that this shipment, let us say that the original contract said 10 units per month. So I'm left with 60 units over maybe 6 months, plus additional 60 units, maybe again, over next 6 months, right? I cannot say now that these are separate contracts, and my pricing is of course going to be at 175 for both. Right? We have just assumed that these are the remaining goods, and the additional goods would become a part of a single contract. So look at the entire contractual revenue and spread it uniformly over each of these distinct goods. Right? So what we are saying here is, if these conditions are not met, the standalone price is not coming in, you would recognize the entire revenue as a part of the remaining goods plus of course the additional goods, and spread it uniformly to arrive at the pricing. Okay, let us say that the additional goods are taken at 178. So you knew that you are going to save the $2 per unit as a shipment charge or some commission or fee, etc. Right? Now this 178 reflects the standalone price. Okay? Now since this reflects the standalone price, it means that my initial 60 units will be taken at $200 each, and next 60 units will be taken at $178 per unit, right? Otherwise we would have taken these. Of course I was assuming that this is 180 originally, so 175 rather. So what you try to bring in here is the right context with respect to, let's say, the recognition and measurement of revenue here. Okay, so very quickly what I would want to do here is just bring in that context of the standard which talks about, of course, this accounting piece also, the measurement part of it. We are saying that when these conditions are not met, right? So what we are saying is, if a contract modification is not accounted for as a separate contract, right? We are saying that the two conditions are not yet met. Okay, so we are saying that an entity shall account for the remaining goods or services. So we had already shipped 40, so we're not looking at that at all, but we are looking at, of course, the remaining 60, right? Not yet shipped as follows. So we need to account for these as, if, for example, an entity shall account for the modification as if the original contract was terminated. You have cancelled that contract altogether, right? And you have entered into a new contract to supply remaining goods yet to be shipped, plus additional goods the total consideration for the remaining plus additional, of course you need to obviously kind of take services as well, so remaining goods or services shall be apportioned uniformly. Okay, right? So we are saying that it should be apportioned uniformly through measurement of the consideration as the sum of course it is just a language, but we're simply adding the two, the consideration of remaining goods not yet accounted for as revenue, plus the consideration for, or let's say the additional goods. Okay, so this is one way we are saying that we need to, of course, account for this modification. So far what we have done is we have talked of the distinct goods. Okay, now let us say that what if the goods are not distinct, right? Again, briefly explaining what could be an example of if the goods or services are not distinct. Let us say that so there is an infrastructure project. You enter into a contract to construct a metro line. Okay, the value of the contract, let us say, is the let us say it is $400 million. Okay, you expect that the completion would take place in 3 years time. Okay, let us say that post 6 months the contract is modified to include the parking lots at metro station. Okay, right? Now independently, let's say the fair consideration of the fair value of this modification would have been $100 million, but is agreed upon at let's say for 80 million. Okay, now when this happens, right? So if I say that if this happens, I need to look for this change as, of course, as a single contract. We're not really kind of saying that there are two different contracts now. We are saying that these are combined, and now let us say at this point in time my total value of the contract becomes, of course, $480 million, right? 400 original and 80 additional, right? If it were taken at 100, of course, this would have been taken separately as a contract there, doesn't matter. But now it is becoming 480. Let us say, since the 6 months are already gone, around $96 million of the work is already complete. Okay, so if I purely look at from the original standpoint's perspective, out of 400, 96 is done. It means that I'm looking at the 24% of revenue would have been recognized at this point in time. Okay, but then now I'm looking at it like this, that this contract is worth 480 million. Okay, now we are saying that out of this 480, 96 is done. It means that only 20% of the revenue is assumed to have been recognized, right? So the very thought process, the very idea of looking at the recognition of such modification now would be as if you are only changing the value of the contract like that, and accordingly moving in that particular direction, right? Of course, there are examples to quantify or measure this so-called relationship, and we would be in a better position to kind of understand the implications of these relevant paragraphs within the accounting standard. But this is something that you need to consider, that a modification has to be seen from the perspective of whether the goods are distinct or not distinct, and also to look at it from the perspective of whether the modification changes the pricing of the additional goods or services, right? Now think about it like this: what if the modification reduces the scope of the contract? Then how should we be dealing with that? We're going to talk about all these aspects in our later discussions as an explanation to this concept of the accounting standard, right? So this is something that I wanted to cover today from my side on this particular concept. We shall be obviously discussing more things around this particular concept at a later point in time. But so far, that is something from my side. Keep watching these videos and good luck with the preparation. All the best.